Slouching down.
Slouching down. You gotta get your posture right. Like those fucking... I don't know how we're introducing this thing. Well, we could introduce it the way that we've always introduced shit, was that aliens aren't real and they're bullshit. They've been bullshit. But they're a fascinating idea to explore.
We'll get into that.
Well,
Once we start with the movie, then you can have your theory, and then I can.
No. I'm just saying it's like the intro thing. Like,
Oh.
aliens aren't real, but they're a fun concept to talk about, and therefore, let's bring it to Disclosure Day.
No.
Then take it away, motherfucker. Take it away.
All right, we are back for round 3. We prefaced in the earlier, or I guess the most recent video from last week, that we don't want to put any spoilers. We want people to come view the movies because they're so good. But when there's a movie that doesn't live up to the hype, I don't want to encourage people to necessarily see it.
It's almost a professional duty.
Yeah.
To prevent people from wasting their time and money.
So therefore, we're going to go into depth with this movie. Apologies for any spoilers, but Disclosure Day
Sucked.
by Steven Spielberg sucked. Like he said, it missed the mark on so many levels. You know, you can talk about the movie making aspects of it. Sure. Did it look good? Yeah. Was the acting okay? Sure. Like Emily Blunt was good. Josh O'Connor was just a bad character.
It was just with Josh O'Connor though. The problem was his American accent sounded like someone was dubbing over him.
Dude, he sounded like Ratatouille. He sounded like the guy from Ratatouille.
Well, he looks like the
He looks
guy
like him.
from.
I was in my head. I was like, "Is this the same guy that voiced it?" I'm like, "But he's what, in his early 30s?" I'm like, "No, he couldn't have been like 17 when."
No,
But the whole movie, I was just like, "What's his name? Remy or who's the guy?"
I think Remy. Yeah,
Or is that the rat's name?
that's the rat's name.
Who's the guy?
Oh, Linguini.
Linguini. He
Linguini.
sounded just like Linguini. That's a huge problem starting off. But yeah, so Disclosure Day really didn't make any sense for what it was going for. Like I said, visually a good movie. That's about it. You know, even to the score with John Williams. Love John Williams, made some of the most iconic tracks you can ever think of. Didn't make any sense. It felt like this movie was supposed to be made and released in like 1995.
Yeah, that was it felt like it was an anachronistic movie. It was supposed to be made in the 80s. Because even everything else around it, too, we were talking about this, too, of like the entire, the bad guys of this movie, what are they called?
Word X.
Yeah.
Colin Firth's
Yeah.
character.
They are, it is a straight 80s movie because they are this secret private military contracting company that is supposed to defend and protect the knowledge of aliens from being released to humanity for some, various reasons. But the problem is that one, they have, instead of just shutting down like social media, which they can do as effectively an arm of the federal government, they don't do that. Right? It's a boomer's idea of how the world still operates. It's as if Steven Spielberg kind of checked out in 1995. Right? They go to, right, what's the big way that everyone knows that aliens are real? It's broadcast TV.
Yeah.
It's why don't they use a satellite to try to reconfigure and do things? They don't do that, right? It's these old-fashioned the way in which an 80s movie would try to solve this problem is the way in which Steven Spielberg tries to solve this problem.
Yeah.
There's no attempt to try to do like a disinformation campaign or anything else that we see nowadays that would be potentially effective in the years of like social media,
right?
Or it just doesn't have that.
Because the core of this movie. So it's I guess the problem is it's not about the phenomena itself, even though that's how Spielberg tried to make it sound in his interviews. He's like, this was my best attempt to give as much context into the whole phenomena meaning like the UFO issue and what that means, what it represents. But the core of the film is just basically a goose chase for them trying to released this on a local broadcasting network in Kansas City, I think.
an affiliate of NBC.
Yeah, so this tiny news station, and the whole thing is just getting these two people together, Josh O'Connor's character and Emily Blunt, because they have this connection by being experiencers. They were both abducted, so that's why they're drawn to each other in a sense. And we're just supposed to believe that this is, yeah, like you said, this is the best way to give it to the world. And the end sequence is so frustrating because you have there's like 60 to 70 people in the newsroom, like running around. First off, you're never going to see that many people at a local news broadcasting network ever. You're never going to see that. It's as if it was CNN in New York.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's, they got the stuff, they put it all in, they uploaded all the videos. Let's send this now. Like, let's get New York on the phone. Let's get LA on the phone. Let's get everyone, put it on. And everyone just for some reason agrees.
Yes.
And on top of everything, so going back to WordX, when their whole mission is to stop this. The humanity's not ready for it. It's too much. It's going to make everyone question their faith, specifically Christians, going to question their God. And they get to the moment, by the way, they run deep with an entourage of 40 to 50 people wherever they go, armed guards. They finally get to the news network as Emily Blunt is about to go on. They cut the power. They cut the generators, cut all the power. No backup generators. But they have their little sticks. This is the core of the plot. There's these little stick devices that are UFO alien technology that can essentially do anything.
They do whatever Steven Spielberg wants them to do to advance the plot.
And
they're not explained. Yeah. They're not. We have no idea. Presumably they come from one of the crash sites, but we're never told anything about them.
Not at all. Just to finish my sentiment right there of the end of the film, why it's so frustrating is that these devices that are used for every core plot moment to get them out of a pickle, essentially, is the same thing for this. So the power gets shut, 50 guards in there. You're like, okay, it's done for. They all have guns. And then she just activates it, squeezes pretty hard, and then turns all the power on. And then Colin Firth just sits down in his chair, and he's like, what do you... I'm just going to watch. And he's just smiling. And then his main right hand runs out of the room frustrated. It's like, yeah, that dude probably thought he was going to kill people. He's like, what? We're here. They're not listening to us. We have to engage. We have to attack. Nope.
Well, he was the only one that really tried to do his job
the whole time.
He was the only one that actually realized that he had, a paycheck and tried to do his job. Colin Firth was but also Colin Firth's motivation was not really fleshed out, other than
terrible character development.
I don't know what apparently there was the scene with him and Coleman Domingo where they're talking about, his wife Jocelyn or whatever, and but he was like, you became very mean and rude, essentially. And so what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with the overall mission of just make sure this information doesn't get out?
Exactly.
They
provided nothing with the plot.
There was no... The problem with the plot is that there was no internal logic to anything that anybody was doing. Mm-mm. Everyone seemed to be moving along in a very weird... I want to say trance. I don't want to say that, but it just felt like there was no real motivation.
It was just
anyone
what
everyone was doing.
We're just supposed to believe that all these events that are happening make sense, even though there's so many plot holes that we can go through, like the scene where Josh O'Connor's character is running from WordX and they surround his house, and he's literally crouched at a fence, open fence, not like it's like those slats, and he's looking through, and then somehow hijacks a car, one of their cars, drives through the house
with about 100 agents, by the way,
all armed,
less than 20 feet away from him,
all armed, and he's like priority number one, like he's public enemy number one for them because he has the device and all the files with the encounters and things like that. And so that's just there's so many scenes like that where it progresses the plot even though it shouldn't be. It's like almost like a get out of jail free card. We don't have to be super engaged because he was able to do this. And Emily Blunt, the device was able to get her out of so many things. Same with Josh O'Connor, but it's also seen as this weapon. And it's everyone's so afraid of it, even though it didn't show once in the film that it could be used as a weapon in any sort of way, other than Colin Firth possessing people's brains when he goes into their consciousness. But other than that, it acted if it was gonna explode, like it was a bomb the whole time. It's just like, WMD, and it's.
But that's the thing. It was just a way in which the plot would move forward. I would barely call what they had a plot. The idea, though, that local television, broadcast television, will save the day, I think is one, incredibly tone deaf, just not at all what 2026 is.
Nope.
The idea of those little things that those little rods makes no sense. And the other one too is the way in which Steven Spielberg handles religion, and even like the attention to detail there is just not there. And I was explaining to you kind of in the scene where the Mother Superior gets the call.
And wait, just to give some context of that, we'll continue that, but just to give context, there's a religious aspect of the movie where Josh O'Connor's ex is this former Noviate, which is basically a nun, one
nun
step
in training,
away.
yeah.
And then she quit that, but she has this connection still with her sisters and the nuns, and they take refuge in a monastery. And so
nunnery,
yeah.
But so she gets the Josh O'Connor's ex-girlfriend, whatever the hell she is, calls the Mother Superior, and one of the nuns goes into the church or the little chapel where the nun is praying, and the church looks like a pre-Vatican II Catholic church. The altar is against the wall. The nuns are all in the old traditional habits. They pray in Latin. That's just not. And it's again, Steven Spielberg, I think, is presumably Jewish. I think he is.
Yep.
So it seems like he just remembered what the Catholic Church was like when he was a young kid in like the 50s, early 60s. And it was like that's what he went into a church one time for someone's communion or event, and he still thinks that's what it is, and that's just not. And then what that is anymore.
No, it's not. And then the whole point, the whole importance of religion in this movie was for one singular question that they wanted to be, that the ex-nun wanted answered by her mother, the head nun, was if there are extraterrestrials or aliens on another planet, is their God still our God?
Yeah, which is the most bullshit, which was elementary theological question, which was already answered, by the way, by Pope Francis, I believe, where he said, where someone posed the question to him, and, do you think, if an alien was to exist, what would you do? And Pope Francis said, well, if he wants to be baptized, then we'll baptize it.
Yeah.
This is one of those things, again, where someone is trying to make a movie of depth, but it just comes off as incredibly shallow in every way when you're trying to do something very, deep with this. And because already most Christians, a lot of people who believe in God, whether they be Christians, Muslims, Jews, even, Hindus, whatever, they all, vast majority of them are big, sizable, minority of them believe in the existence of life on other planets. Right. So the idea of this is, it's some sort of theological question that would break the mind is just not.
It's this first question that was ever posed, are aliens out there? And if so, is their God our God? That is a total question, that Steven Spielberg thought was, so profound. Maybe it was 30 or 40 years ago, which it seems like that's when the movie should have been released. And he even said in an interview that I watched recently is that he's always been wanting to make a film like this, just couldn't find the right time. So who knows how long this has been cooking. Yeah. And it's funny because there's nothing deep about this film.
No.
It is the most, it drags so much. You get no information into the actual phenomena other than the mystery behind it. And there's this, psychic abilities that, the characters have. That's it. That's all you got.
Not only is that it, but it's, like you said, I think you mentioned before, it's like a kid's movie.
There's no real kids. It should have been rated PG.
There's no real violence in anything. There's no blood. There's no cursing.
No one's getting killed.
There's none of that. And, but I get to the one final point on the theological thing as well, right, is, again, you have this, and if you wanted to take it in that direction, right, is their God our God, right? You had a very interesting moment there where in the scene where Colin Firth's character's using that stick to possess Josh O'Connor's ex-girlfriend's mind.
Yeah.
or like to be at the table to interrogate her to try to figure out where they are, and she's holding in her hand, because she knows that she's, I guess, being possessed, or that this is not normal, whatever. She's holding in her hand a crucifix, right? And as she's holding the crucifix, it's clearly having an effect on the
Yes.
effectiveness of this stick.
Trance that she's
Right.
in.
Yes.
Yep.
And the harder she's digging, and she starts bleeding or whatever, but the harder she's doing it, the more that she's able to kind of negate the effect of this thing. And I thought that was such an interesting thing, in which you could have taken that in a much more interesting direction. If that was the question you wanted to answer, that right there was the fork in the road between a very shallow and pitiful movie and a movie that could have been actually very interesting in how it decided to answer that
Yeah.
question.
Right.
And you screwed it up. You screwed it up.
if
And
you
you
did-
never saw
yeah.
anything about that again.
Nothing. If you're gonna bring in religion, yeah, that was the best moment because she like dug it so hard in her hand that she screamed, and then Colin Firth, like disappeared from it. The trance was gone, like her eyes went back to her normal color, and then he would like come back and all this stuff. But what's the point in bringing religion, specifically Christianity, into a film that you get nothing out of it other than the acknowledgement that yes, aliens' God is the same God as ours. That's it. When it's like, like there's so many going to the whole UFO phenomenon as it's in itself. There's so many instances within the Catholic Church's history of specific encounters. There's like, Our Lady of Fatima. There's so many like moments, and
Well,
there's
that's
a lot of saints.
presuming that those Marian apparitions are alien.
Sure.
encounters.
But there's been things that have been, there's threads that tie things. People do, lots of like research with this stuff, and there are anomalies within Catholic history that should be not represented but acknowledged in a way. This was such a cursory review of the phenomenon. This was such a surface level review, and it was for kids. It's like, oh, look at them. They got abducted when they were little kids, and they took the shape of animals to make them feel safer, but they're actually aliens. And you see the whole abduction thing on the ship and everything. Get nothing from that as to why they were chosen, what they were there for. Which I guess you could say, oh, that's the whole point of the phenomenon. We don't know. It's seemingly random, but you can't make it that random in a movie that has a plot. Like,
No.
you have to pick one.
And I think that we talked in the last episode too about the problem with trailers now is they reveal too much.
Yes.
And watching the movie and seeing the trailer, in the trailer you had this scene where the deer head becomes the alien on the other side. And that was such a point that they could have kept out, because I walked into that movie knowing that every little animal I saw
Yep.
was probably, at least the deer, were aliens.
And that was one of the core pieces of the film.
And the aliens, the animals looked, it was a terrible CGI
Yeah,
job.
talk about another problem with this movie. The
Terrible
CGI, like we said before, it's like you pulled it out of the Polar Express.
Literally.
You went to the same formula or company that did the Polar Express, and you just superimposed that design onto this. The deer looked like out of a. It was just so bad.
Just that scene too of
With
her
the fox.
with she's walking with the animals in the forest, and there's snow everywhere, and it's the Hansel and Gretel house.
Dude.
It literally looked it looked kind of like the Polar Express, but it also did look recently like the AI Coca-Cola commercial that they released over Christmas. That's what it looked like. It looked so quiche. It looked terrible.
It was so
awful.
animated. The little girl looked animated too.
Yeah.
So that's how much that was being used, and for seemingly nothing. That was the one part of the film in terms of visuals where it was so painstakingly bad that you didn't even need it. The scenes where there were animals was, the deer standing in the front lawn. You could get deer to do that. There's a fox comes up to them in the middle of the road. You could film a fox or a cardinal in a tree. You could film there's so many ways around it, especially for a $200 million film, and they just chose, but we want them to look very like pensive and ominous and not scared but also kind of threatening, how Josh O'Connor was explaining, and it's just like, what are we getting at?
It was
As if as if like the aliens were their friends. It was this like very like uplifting positive ending, and it's like aliens are the good guys. It's all happy.
Well,
and
we
we're
don't
all-"
even know if they're the good guys because they
don't
cut it
know.
off right when Emily Blunt says, "Listen." She's
Right when the 7-foot alien grandmother whispers a secret into Josh O'Connor's ear, and then Josh O'Connor subsequently whispers the same thing into her ear, and then she's about to tell the whole world, and then it ends.
which also doesn't make any sense to me. Which was why would the videos be any? Because so, and towards the very end, the last act of the scene, right? They take the videos, right? They basically hijack this local news network, and they do this whole just clips back and forth of just different of old encounters of crash sites and
Yeah.
aliens being taken from these ships.
Right.
And it cuts then to the grand reveal, which is this alien, this 7-foot tall alien grandmother, as you mentioned, living, and it's you had that the whole time. That was like, and again, this is again a boomer who doesn't understand the way that the world works anymore. Is that anyone with any clips, right, of things, you could always just say that that was fake, that was AI, that's computer generated, that's bullshit. You know, it's very easy to dismiss videos,
Yeah.
right? People do that all the time with things like Bigfoot, with Loch Ness Monster, with any type of like cryptid or strange thing, right?
Yeah.
Video is never enough, a picture is never enough, right?
Right.
But a body,
Yeah.
a living, especially a living, breathing one, even if you have a dead one, right? A living, breathing body is enough to, here it is.
That's
Which
you couldn't have
you-
any better proof.
You had that the entire time?
And they did fit, like there was a scene where the camera went to the alien, so you're seeing it, and then it tells its little dirty secret, and Emily Blunt goes back to the stage, and the camera goes off of the alien to go to Emily Blunt to see what she has to say.
Yeah.
There's an there's an alien in the
Yeah.
room, and we're gonna pan to her, and then not get anything because guess what? That's when the movie would have got way too complex for Spielberg because what the hell are they gonna say? What did that alien say?
No idea. But it was,
But that's not the point of the movie. It's about disclosure day. It's about disclosing the evidence of aliens.
it's one of those things where, again, it's incredibly, the other thing too with the, you want to take it in such an interesting and unique direction, but he used grays.
Yeah, he just used grays.
He just used grays.
The
There was-
quintessential 3-foot tall gray alien, big head,
Yeah.
big eyes.
You could have, again, taken that in such more interesting direction of different types of aliens. You could have had grays in there and
Sure.
part of like the montage of different crashes and stuff like that. But there's other, I know you know better than I do, you're much more in tune with the UFO community than I am.
Thank you.
The alien, yeah, you're crazy.
Thank you.
But but they have different types of aliens they
Sure.
say exist, that they allege exist out there and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Incorporate some of that, like if space is so magnificent and so infinite, and the God is the God of the universe or whatever, and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Then you would expect that extraterrestrial life forms would be just as diverse, if not more diverse, than life here on Earth.
Because if
amongst
there's
human
one
beings.
species getting to Earth and however they're doing it, it's very likely that other species could do that too. If you're going to say that there's multiple, and yeah, every video you saw was just grays being taken into a tent, or grays being tortured, or recovering grays, the dead bodies of grays. This also reminds me of one of the most annoying things about the plot that I figured out realized afterwards was, so when Josh O'Connor is revealing to his ex, because they're on the run from Ward X, when he's revealing to his ex what's going on, because she has no clue what's happening, and he's like, I'm going to show you. And he pulls out his laptop, and he starts showing the videos, and you see grays and everything, you see crash retrieval, but then you see a video of them being tortured by Colin Firth, I guess, or whatever the company is, or whoever it is. And Josh O'Connor, and she's having this visceral reaction, crying, like so, as if it's like a little puppy being killed on an operating table. And you have Josh O'Connor then saying, "I was in on this until I saw that." Oh, so you're doing this for like a humanitarian point of view? Like you want grays to stop being tortured, not the fact that they exist, but because they're being tortured. Now we need to tell the world that the truth belongs to humanity. That we need to treat grays like we treat each other.
No,
Almost lost my mind.
yeah, that's
Almost
the
crashed my
big-
car. Couldn't believe it.
That's the big. I don't know. This idea of that this was the thing that tipped it off as, oh yeah, the torture
Yeah.
of these alien life forms, as if that, but they tortured you too.
Yeah, they abducted you and did what, who knows what.
abducted you, and they did all this stuff. But another weird like plot point thing, and again, I don't know, like maybe I'm just an idiot, which is fine. But Josh O'Connor says that he got his first encounter with one of these with the aliens disguised as animals when he was 19 years old in the dorm.
Yeah.
But then in the scene at the end where they're laying on where they recognize each other,
They're doing the regression therapy.
Yeah, the regression therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a child too.
Laying next to her,
Yeah.
Emily Blunt's character.
So which is it? Was he 19 years old? He did it. Was he a child when that happened?
Was it neither?
Was it her perception of him? But in
Yeah.
that case, why is that not explained?
There's so many moments in the film that have no explanation. We just have to infer what's happening. Another instance is Coleman Domingo. Every time you see him for the first 75% of the film is on him on the phone talking to Josh O'Connor, and he's doing his job of. It looks like he's on a movie set. They're like constructing this. I don't know. You can't really tell. There's a lot of workers. There's like walls going up. And then it turns out to be that he's been constructing Emily Blunt's childhood home specifically to start this regression therapy, but he didn't know. You already saw him building the set before her character knew that she had these psychic abilities, knew that she was abducted before, because there's the moment with the cardinal that she gets these powers now.
Yeah.
She knows everything about everybody. But he was already constructing that house.
Yeah. How did he know?
Either I'm crazy and I'm missing like a huge plot point for that, but I don't think they explained that.
No,
You had no clue.
No, they didn't. They didn't go into that at all. They don't go into either. Another weird thing that happened too, which really frustrated me, is that, again, going back to the scene where Coleman Domingo is talking with Colin Firth in that
And the psychic
yeah.
trance thing.
They're
yeah.
talking to each other. There's two people walk in to the room.
Yes.
And they immediately get out, and they get out. So he comes back. So Colin Firth comes back to whatever little lab thing he's in, the office. Well, not the office, but. And then he's like, pull up the people who left, and they're like, that one and that one. And the girl looks it up. They're like, they went offline yesterday. And it's like, if you lost these people, right? You lose 20 people. I think it was what, like 20, like between 12 and 20 people.
Where?
At the beginning of the movie, where it's like, 12 people, like, they're no longer at their desk. They left or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you not immediately look them up?
Yeah.
Where did they go? What are they doing? Why do you wait so long? And why did they wait so long to shut off their devices?
Didn't make any sense. And then at the same time, Coleman Domingo's character worked with Colin Firth's character before. They were like, he was like Colin Firth was like his boss before, and then they had this falling out, probably over the torture videos. Like, it's probably the same thing, but Coleman Domingo was essentially his group, his faction was this separate, entity that was really focused on the disclosure. But if you have a company like WordX that's seemingly more knowledgeable than the U.S. government, more secure than the U.S. government, and they know that one of their own is off gallivanting with this knowledge and has the living alien at the end, why was Coleman Domingo even a character? Why did he have that? It's such a weak thing of like, oh, we used to be friends, man. What happened? We're bad blood now. It's like, he would have been shot. Like, you would have been killed instantly.
Also, I don't understand why. I understand getting the video, like, from the point of view of this private military contracting company, right? I understand the point of view trying to get now the videos that have disappeared, which also, for some reason, they're on flash drives.
Yeah.
Like multiple different flash drives.
Like 50 of them.
Yeah. I understand them going after that. But why not? An alien is missing from the basement.
So essentially, wherever it was.
Where is where is the chase for that? Why are you not trying to find grandma?
Literally.
Why are you going after this kid? Because again, I guess you don't understand the way that the modern the media landscape looks like now. But if he was to just release those videos, right, You got connections to the U.S. government. You could just pull the FCC license or do whatever it gets because
Gone.
they're an affiliate of NBC.
Of course.
Very connected, intertwined
Yes.
with the U.S. government. You could easily kind of push that,
Done.
push that button there. Or they release it online. Guess what? You could just, again, you have connections with Facebook and all these other companies where you could just push it down so far on the algorithm that it'll never go
Yeah,
anywhere.
just say it's disinformation. or it's
Disinformation, you
AI.
cancel it, you remove the account, you just keep doing that. And then if it really does kind of explode, again, you have an entire apparatus within the government whose sole job is to just spread disinformation in order to prevent information from really getting out.
Whole job.
So why not do that route, right, for the videos, for that stuff?
Right.
But again, the big issue is Grandma is missing from the basement.
Where is she?
Where did she go? When did
Her
she
GPS isn't here anymore.
When did she leave? How did they get her out? Why is I would understand a 50-man police chase for that thing.
And what is she? She looks completely different. That's the thing with the species too. It's like she doesn't look like the gray. She has the same big head, but she's like 7 feet tall. So it's not synchronous. There's no like continuity from this film. And then going to your point with the whole FCC thing, alternatively, what happened in the film is that, like we said before, it got released. Every news station ended up picking up this local channel, and the only good performance was that CNN anchor that was like
she was
crying.
really good.
Good
I liked her,
performance.
yeah.
Ridiculous point to put in the movie
Yes.
because she's crying. Everyone's so convinced. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, we have to take Kansas City's local channel very seriously.
Yeah.
This is world threatening."
Yeah.
Are you joking? It's like I feel like I'm literally going crazy. I feel like I'm contorting into like a shell. I'm like, there's so many scenes in the movie where I literally put my head in my hands. I'm like, I can't believe they did this. And this is coming from Spielberg, like the UFO guy, the alien guy, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., War of the Worlds. I think there's another one. But like those are some of the most iconic like extraterrestrial films. And this is like your magnum opus. Like this is the one you've been wanting to
that
make
genre.
forever.
Yeah.
And it's the worst one. And Close Encounters is even a good movie for the most part. Richard Dreyfuss is super annoying.
Yeah.
And it's worse than that.
Yeah.
And it's gonna bomb. Like it had good opening weekend. I think it was like $90 million or something globally. Next weekend, like it's gonna fall. It's gonna go like 50% down. Whereas Obsession and Backrooms went up 25%, 30%. This is gonna tank.
Yeah.
It is gonna crash.
Yeah. It's
And it should.
Yeah. It's just again, there's no internal logic with the film at all because I think a lot of people now, especially with, and you could see again on the social media side of things, right? We had those kind of disclosures of those naval videos.
Yeah.
Of the naval aircraft, their videos of these little tic tacs going on.
You're talking about the
crazy.
real,
the real one,
disclosure.
yeah, the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
one that happened, and no one really cared. It
Gone
didn't-
in a day.
No, it was gone in a day. Some people thought it was interesting. Some people thought it was fake. Some people thought this was government technology. Some people thought that this is aliens.
Yep.
But the general reaction was, we got other shit to worry about.
Yeah.
We got inflation's at an all-time high. No one can afford a house. We got other, we're in a war with Iran again. We can't, we're getting involved in Ukraine or Iran.
Yeah.
We can't, we're dealing with too much at this point. We don't care.
Which is
We
exactly
don't care.
how
It was just
everybody would-
apathy.
Right.
It felt like there was just a general apathy on social media concerning these disclosures.
And
Part
that's
of it
how
was
everyone else
oh,
responded.
cool,
Yeah.
but okay.
Yeah, because
Like-
if this film was real in this day, it'd have the exact same reaction that it just had a couple weeks ago. Of I don't care.
Yeah. So,
But
or,
instead,
oh, that's fake.
Instead, it's gripping the whole world. Everyone's on the subway on their
Yeah.
phones. They're all watching the same feed.
Yeah.
Dude, there was no the only build up to know to the public that something's going on is when Emily Blunt started speaking her clicking noises.
Even then, I don't think something like that in this current social media landscape would even go viral.
Yeah, it's like, oh, she's having like a
Seizure.
panic attack,
Like,
whatever
oh,
it is.
Look at that. It'd be part of one of those compilation clips of newscasters
Yeah,
screwing up.
that's how famous that would have gotten.
It would have been part of a clip in part of a larger YouTube video.
Right.
And that would have been that.
But that's the only buildup we got that was put out to the public that other people saw in terms of something weird is happening. And then all of a sudden she's back on air and they upload 1,000 gigabytes or a terabyte. It was I saw the file, it was like 60 gigs. There was like 50, and they just broadcast everything. You know how long that would take to play? Like, just on top of that too, there was so much data, and they're like, we're just gonna run it. We're just gonna run it, and bring out the Alien 2 because that's
Why not?
yeah. But
why not?
Why even release anything?
Just bring the alien in.
Show the alien.
Just bring the alien in, put it down, put it in hair and makeup, and fucking have it sit down.
Hello, how are you?
Interview the alien.
Yes. Instead, it's doing its little secrets
Yeah.
that they can understand because that's their whole abduction experience. Now they can understand the language.
he can
for
understand
some. We don't
that,
know why.
Yeah.
He can understand mathematics because he's a little.
Yeah, they speak in math.
He's this data. He's like this hardcore data guy that went to federal prison for data fraud or data breach, and the only thing he does in this movie is the only reason he's on the run is because he stole those files. Had nothing to do with his skills.
But not only that, you don't see any of his computer skills at all.
He didn't download anything. He just took the actual flash drives.
And that's the only thing he did. The only thing he did in the movie concerning computers at all was plugging in a flash drive in a computer at the end. That's the only thing that you saw for him doing anything computer related. He wasn't hacking into any mainframe. He wasn't doing anything crazy. He wasn't trying to figure out the other people's location for shit or none of that you would see that maybe would have been like a little corny, but you would have gotten a taste for okay, he's good in that world for that stuff. No, the only thing he does with computers, he plugs a flash drive in at the end. That's it.
Even the computer he's uploading it to is like Windows 97.
Yeah.
Like the way it was like the green checks as it's loading. It's like you can't even. What are we? Where are we right now in time? What's happening? The music sounds like it's from the 80s. It sounds like it's E.T. Doesn't fit the vibe.
I think if Steven Spielberg was to make this movie set not in 2026, but set it in 1986 or whatever.
Yep.
That might have been a better.
And
it would
then
attract. Too. Yeah. He should have released it then too. But even if he was to make it he was to release it now, but it was set in 1984 or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be much more believable.
Yeah.
I think, and you'd be like, yeah, this is how the 80s they would do this.
Yeah,
that's of course they wouldn't have social media. Of course everyone would just believe whatever the TV tells them.
Perfect.
Of course, the guys they need 50 guys to go on a wild goose chase and
physical drives,
to do that stuff. Of course you need flash drive, floppy disk and flash drives to get things in. Of course, that makes sense, right? But Not now.
Not in this incredibly digital age where all of these analog things are just non-existent. We just don't use that stuff anymore.
No.
And it's the flash drives look really weird. They weren't normal metal. It's
future. Yeah.
That's the one thing where it's not a normal thumb drive. It's this weird thing that he has to plug in.
It's so they needed this weird thing for just a video.
That's it. Just literal normal video files.
And it would actually be interesting too if he actually did use a normal flash drive, because it would argue the point that he stole this information. They still have the videos or whatever, but he's got a copy of everything. Mm-hmm. He stole that. Not just they still have the proprietary information on that, but he stole it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Rather than, I don't know. It's just.
This is, and absolutely. I guess just to the broader aspect. I mean, if you see the movie, if you want to see it, I mean, go into it expecting a kid's film, because that's what it is. But this just shows kind of our theme for the past few weeks of the boomers are having a really difficult time in Hollywood right now, even from the greats. Spielberg is indisputably one of the greatest
He's a legend.
filmmakers in history. Indisputable fact. He's going to have a less profitable film than Obsession did, than Curry Barker did, than Backrooms. You're going to have a less profitable film for a movie that cost 200 times the amount to make it. Yeah. So this is a huge reflection that something's happening in Hollywood or the digital age, the new media, whatever you want to call it, and nobody can stop it.
Yeah, not only that, too, it's, a lot of people have a lot of criticism concerning zombie movies because they're kind of all they're played out. They've done it all, right?
Sure.
In terms of how movie makers approach that genre.
Okay.
Right? I think, but with aliens though, you don't really have that many movies of alien encounters in this type of way of probing them, the traditional UFO account that you'd see on the conspiracy, abduction, Contact.
Yeah.
what they look like,
Right.
the ships, right? Of course, in sci-fi movies you have like obviously aliens and stuff like that, but that's a different context. I'm talking
Yeah.
specifically like in this day and age, how that operates, how that looks. You don't really have that, right? There's no set formula really for that yet. Of course, you have some of those movies, but it seems like that would be such fertile ground to take it in whatever direction you want to take it
It's
in.
an open universe.
It is an open field for you to play around with, not only because of just the infiniteness of the universe that exists, but also the infinite capacity of schizophrenics behind a computer screen who will come up with crazy theories for things.
At the same time,
And-
too, let me interject a little bit. Also, the actual real life accounts that people experience. Sure, whatever you want to say, but like accounts, how they said it was, whether they're abducted, whether they had a sighting, whatever it was. There are a plethora of stories and anecdotes, whatever you want to call it, to explore.
Yeah.
We talked about before, like Communion, which is written by Whitley Strieber. It's one of the most iconic like abduction stories. Him and his like in his like lake house, and it's this just super eerie thing that you get no understanding into what's really going on, why it's happening, why him, all these things, and it really breaks it down and goes through his past, and it's like that could just be a film right there. Just put it on the page. Beautiful.
Yeah, instead of doing a Jimmy Stewart biopic, you could do that.
Yes. Oh my God! Like, what are we doing?
You could do that again.
20 years, they're gonna make a Timothy Chalamet biopic. It's
Yeah,
just like
well-
this is the moment he almost won his first Oscar,
And this
God, it was
this
crushing.
is the moment at him at Game 5 of the NBA championship
Yeah,
in
like the
2020,
next scene.
2026. Yeah,
yeah,
but
so impactful.
it's just again, it goes back to my point that I think I made in the first podcast. Of just you have all this IP out there and you're doing nothing with it. You have all these stories, all these things, you're doing absolutely nothing with it. Because yeah, you can use these many anecdotal claims of encounters or vision, like seeing things or being abducted,
Yeah.
and what that looks like. And there's the thing of like the Nordics, like there's different types of
Sure.
aliens that people say that there
Yeah,
are
yeah.
and stuff like that have made contact or with human beings or had like, encounters with human beings.
yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to use
Any of that?
any of that.
No. Betty
No.
and Barney Hill, the most iconic abduction story.
Yeah,
Like back in the 60s, these two,
yeah, where they were
married
driving.
couple.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then they have the regression therapy, and it's like, like the audio files are insane. They're like the scariest thing.
can't. Yeah, but that's the thing. It seems like one of those things where it's a very fertile field. It's a wide open field for you to run around and play in.
Yeah.
It's not like zombie movies where kind of everything's played out, where either they're literally like the dead have come back to life,
Right.
or it's some type of disease, infection type. There's really only so much you can do with a zombie movie. There's really only so much you can do with a vampire movie. There's really only so much you can do with like a werewolf movie, right? But with aliens, it seems like that's a very big field for you to kind of really like
Yeah.
explore different things.
And people want to see it. People are very interested. They're interested in the eeriness of it. They're interested in the mystery around it. They don't know what it is. It's something that's been talked about in American culture for the past 80 years. And it's always been written off as a bunch of kooks, a bunch of, UFO conspiracies. They've even gone so far to try to reclassify the name of UFOs to UAPs, just to make it less like, it's because it has such a stigma to it. There's so many opportunities to try for us as a public to like understand or accept that maybe something weird's happening. Like, let's take this person's account. Let's talk about it. Like, let's investigate it.
Oh.
Instead of this literal slop written by Spielberg that put on the big screen. And he's in an interview too. He's like, it's just so funny that when, the president was releasing these UAP files, it just happened to coincide with my movie too. Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, there's also the conspiracy that Hollywood talks to the people. Well, it is true that the Hollywood does have very much entanglement with the Department of Defense or the Department of War now. They're always talking
it's just
with
weird.
each other.
It's just so weak.
But it's just, yeah, I don't. It's weak. You have so much like diversity with everything that you could do here, and to not do that, or even I found my point. Even like you want to do something with like disclosures, right?
yeah.
You have this really interesting time right now, like this very postmodern time where no one knows what they're seeing is true. Nobody knows if what they're seeing on their phone or on the TV or in the newspaper is actually true.
Yep.
a lot of people, because again, there's been a lot of lost faith in institutions that people used to believe in. People used to believe in the news. People used to believe in the government. People used to believe in institutionalized religion.
Yep.
People used to believe in the universities and the professors and academics and experts and doctors, and that's all gone away.
Yep.
And no one believes in anything anymore. No one believes, that stuff. And that I think is very interesting too. What if you do have a 7-foot tall grandma alien and you interview her? How would social media they would
That'd be a better movie than the entire Disclosure Day.
and it's true,
Yeah.
and the characters know it's true, and the audience may know it's true, but everyone else in the world doesn't believe it's true because they live, again, in this media landscape that we live in now,
Yep.
where they look at there and they're like, that's CGI, that's AI, that's bullshit, that's not true, that's part of a government conspiracy. The government's trying to the only reason they're letting this alien talk to us is because they're trying to distract us from the Epstein files. Like,
Yeah.
there would be something where
Right.
there would be a segment of the population, right, a not too minority of the population, right, that would write this off or just not give a shit.
Exactly.
Right? And that, I think, would be very interesting to explore too. But again, you don't explore that angle, right?
Not at all.
You don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So
Because you're afraid of it. They're afraid of it. And even so, with the realism of not being able to understand what's real or not, the movie itself, Steven Spielberg is iconic for practical effects. He's iconic for, in Jurassic Park with the T-Rex.
Animatronics,
It's super impressive. It's scary. It feels like you're there. There was none of that. There was no practical effects in this movie. It was all CGI. It was all terrible. So the film you're making isn't even believable because it looks like a little kid's film. So it's like you can't even give the audience like an opportunity to make it feel real. It's just automatically this fiction movie, even though the marketing was like Disclosure Day. You had nothing. It was scary. People were like, is this actually Disclosure? Like, is this going to coincide? And it's just a crappy film.
yeah, just that is the perfect summation. It's just a crappy film.
Just a crappy film.
And I think on that, we maybe end it.
Yeah, that
there.
will end it.
Yeah.
So see Disclosure Day if you'd like, or don't. We don't
Don't.
care either way. You're gonna
don't
waste
care.
$20.
You're better
But-
off just burning your money,
Yeah, but
lighting it on fire.
yeah,
You're better off doing that.
but we don't condone that because that could be a crime.
Well,
Defacement. I don't know. Anyways, thank you again. Like and subscribe.
I can subscribe.